The beautiful schoolgirl had one final wish before she died. Her last wish was to give me her precious first time. But when faced with her initiative, I didn't hesitate to push her away. Previously, her mother had suddenly fallen seriously ill. She was in deep despair, desperately seeking help from all her relatives, but no one responded. Instead, it was me, her desk mate, who lent her $100,000, everything I had. Yet even after spending the money, her mother couldn't be saved. Heartbroken, she thought about leaving this world with her mother. To repay the debt, she was willing to sacrifice herself. At that moment, I couldn't resist her gentleness, and we spent the night together. Unexpectedly, the next morning, she jumped off a building. Had what I'd done not been enough? After all, it was also my first time. Emily Watson's soft voice broke me out of my memories. Seeing her, I pretended to be cold and said, "Go home. Let the past stay in the past." I turned my back, but I could see her disheveled clothes and secretly swallowed hard. "We're at Harvard University. It's a top-tier school. Don't make a fool of yourself," I said. Emily Watson lowered her head, looking deeply aggrieved. All she wanted was to pay off her debt before leaving this world. She nodded lightly and walked away with her petite figure. I thought she wouldn't jump again. But then, a dialogue box suddenly appeared in front of me. "Emily Watson will jump from Prospect Hill at 11 p.m. tonight. If you stop her, the system will continue loading." Confused, I couldn't understand why she still wanted to jump after I had already saved her. I hurriedly grabbed her hand. She trembled and turned to look at me. Above her head was now a countdown timer, 500 minutes. At exactly 2 a.m. I suddenly realized I couldn't leave the debt hanging like this. "You're right, Emily Watson," I said, eyes fixed on the steadily ticking timer. My voice trembled. But she misunderstood, thinking I wanted to continue what had happened before. "Then let's continue," she said, suddenly throwing herself into my arms. Her body was soft and light, breathing gently as her sobs echoed. I started to feel a little flustered. This couldn't go on. I gently picked up a book from the table and tapped her head with a smile. "Do you have nothing in that head of yours but guilty thoughts?" Emily Watson sat in my lap, crying, hugging me tightly. She said, "You're a top student. How could you not find a way to earn $100,000? She then lifted her head and looked at me with hopeful eyes, as if waiting for my agreement. The countdown above her head had decreased to 4,500 minutes, which meant 3 more days. What does 3 days mean? I wondered. Maybe she realized that earning $100,000 wasn't so easy after all. I didn't know what else to say. I just looked at her with a heavy heart. She tilted her head as if she wanted to say something but then slowly looked down. "I'll go now," she said, turning to leave. But I couldn't bear to let her go. The countdown above her head felt like it was weighing on my chest with every ticking second. In the end, I couldn't hold back. I grabbed her hand and pulled her back. "Wait. Can you help me with something? My house needs a helper. I'll pay you $1 million a month. Would you do it?" Emily Watson looked at our hands, seeing how red hers was from my nervous grip. I felt a little embarrassed and was about to let go, but she held on tightly. I sighed. "You still owe me $100,000. At the very least, pay that off first. You have to live well, okay?" Hearing that, Emily Watson looked up at me with watery eyes. "You've known all along that I didn't want to live anymore, haven't you?" She said it, then suddenly threw herself into my arms. I could feel her soft body trembling against me, and my heart ached. The beautiful girl cried uncontrollably in my arms. Her sobs grew louder and louder, but the countdown timer above her head gradually dimmed, and eventually disappeared. After a long time, she finally stopped crying. Still clutching my shirt, she rubbed her face against it. "Did I dirty your shirt?" No, you didn't. Emily Watson was still lying in my arms. I poked her cheek and said, "You owe me a lot of money, so don't think you can just run away. You have to live and work to pay it off." Emily Watson rested her face against my hand and nodded gently. "I'll move in tomorrow and be your servant." Then she turned and ran off. Watching her small figure disappear into the distance, I felt a strange, quiet sadness. The next day, I drove the Lamborghini that the system had given me to the women's dormitory near Harvard University. From afar, I saw Emily Watson trembling beside a few of her roommates who were pointing and saying something. I frowned. Not good. Looks like Emily Watson is being bullied again. She reeks all the time in the dorm. Just because she's a little pretty doesn't mean anything. She's poor, probably going to end up marrying some fat old man, one of the girls mocked. But just as she was about to say more, the roar of an engine interrupted her. A Lamborghini sped up and screeched to a halt right in front of the dorm. Seeing the car, the girls screamed, "Oh my God, it's a Lamborghini." "So Ryan Blake is not just handsome, he's filthy rich too," one girl said with a bright smile while glancing at Emily Watson. "Seeing a perfect man like that. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance." She walked toward me, but I suddenly raised my hand and slapped her. The force sent her flying. "What are you doing?" The other girls gasped and ran off in a panic. The girl I slapped rolled a few times on the ground, covered her face, then looked up at me. "Ryan Blake, what was that for?" I waved my hand, cutting her off. "If you want money for medicine, come find me." The girl on the ground blinked and said, "I don't need medicine. Could you hit me one more time?" Startled, I quickly grabbed Emily Watson and ran. "What the hell? That girl's crazy." A few minutes later, Emily Watson sat silently in the passenger seat, her head bowed low. I reached out and poked her cheek. "Do you get bullied a lot?" To my surprise, she didn't brush my hand away. Instead, she leaned closer, letting me poke her again. "No, not really. I usually spend the day in the library. I don't interact with many people." "That's good. But if you ever get bullied again, tell me. I'll take care of it." I smiled. "Why didn't you push my hand away this time?" Emily Watson's face flushed. She stayed quiet for a moment, then softly said, "Because I'm your servant now." I was surprised. "Oh? Being a servant includes this kind of thing too?" Seeing me pull my hand back, Emily Watson gently added, "Thank you for helping me, but hitting people will bring trouble." "I'm not afraid. Those people only bully the weak. Didn't you see? That girl practically got addicted to getting slapped." "To get addicted to being slapped, is that even possible?" Emily Watson blinked innocently. "I don't really know either." I coughed and changed the subject. "But you probably don't need to understand this kind of thing. It might affect you." Emily Watson looked out the window, suddenly realizing we weren't headed in the direction of my house. "I'm taking you shopping," I said, using a tone like I was taking a kid out for candy. "No need. I brought enough things." "Don't waste money," she replied quickly. The system's request to train a perfect maid might have been vague, but clearly, a proper uniform was essential. I couldn't wait to see this beautiful girl in a maid outfit. Ah, right, should I pick black stockings or white ones? Forget it. Grown-ups, of course, choose both. We'll get both maid outfits. At first, Emily Watson looked doubtful and kept whispering to herself. She leaned to one side, feeling like my expression was a little strange. Not long after, when we reached the shopping district, I realized that regular clothing stores didn't sell maid uniforms. Emily Watson continued obediently following behind me. Finally, after checking a few stores, she couldn't hold back anymore. "What do you think my work uniform should be like? I can help look too." Or maybe I can just wear an apron. That would be easy to work in. No need to actually buy a uniform. No, no, no. A work uniform is essential, I grinned. No maid outfit is like, no wife. What's the point? But I wasn't in a rush. Today wasn't really about buying, it was about enjoying a shopping trip with a beautiful girl. I picked up a white dress and held it up in front of Emily Watson. What do you think? Pretty? She glanced at the price tag and immediately waved her hands frantically. The price was way beyond what she expected. This dress costs more than my whole wardrobe combined, she exclaimed. It's way too expensive, and I can't even work in something like this. It's not a work outfit, I chuckled. I just wanted to see how you look in it. I smiled and pushed her gently toward the fitting room. It's fine, you're not wearing it out. Just try it on. A little while later, she stepped out of the changing room, her head slightly bowed, arms crossed over her chest. It's too tight, she whispered. I looked at her and couldn't help but praise her silently. As expected from the campus beauty, truly flawless. Stop it, Emily Watson said, face flushed, tugging up the neckline of the dress. This is too revealing. I just laughed softly and nudged her back into the changing room. It's fine, no one else will see. Just change back and we'll go. Even though I bought that dress, Emily Watson didn't want to keep shopping after that. She was clearly still concerned about the price. But I bought it for you. You don't need to pay me back, I said. Looking good is part of the maid duties, isn't it? No, it's not, she softly protested. I tapped her forehead gently. You haven't even started working yet and you're already arguing with your master? What I say goes. We were about to leave the shopping district when I suddenly stopped walking. She bumped into my back. Emily Watson rubbed her head and looked up, only to see a 24-hour adult store right in front of us. Adult supplies. What does that mean? She asked, confused. Hearing that, I felt a little awkward. I rubbed my hands and explained, adult supplies, well, as the name suggests, things for grown-ups. I had originally planned to go home, but this store caught my eye. Maybe, just maybe, they'd have made outfits inside. Not exactly a regular store, but still. Emily Watson stared curiously at the store sign. What kind of stuff do they sell? Watching her, I almost burst out laughing. If I took her out for spicy hot pot, I could probably trick her into all sorts of things. But after a moment, I felt a bit guilty and decided to move on. Let's head to the next area. We'll come back another time. Emily Watson tilted her head, still confused, and followed me. Maybe she was curious too. I mean, I'd never been in one of those stores either. When we got back to my car, I saw a girl cosplaying as a maid standing next to my Lamborghini, taking selfies. Eventually, I heard from her that there was actually a store nearby that sold real maid costumes. Emily Watson finally came back to her senses and spoke up slowly. Ryan Blake, is this what you meant by my work uniform? I nodded confidently. Yep. That's the maid outfit. She looked at the dress and said, this one's even more revealing than the other one. Can you really wear something like this for work? Her face turned red. I smiled lightly. It's fine. It suits you. Don't worry. I'm sure they have more modest styles too. Emily Watson pouted and asked, why does it feel like I'm walking into a den of thieves? Should I run while I still can? As soon as we stepped into the cosplay specialty store, Emily Watson's eyes lit up. So many beautiful dresses. These are so elegant and refined, she whispered. Told you, I said proudly. These are official work uniforms. I patted my chest confidently, trying to look reliable. Emily Watson carefully took the dress from the store clerk, mumbling to herself, wearing such a beautiful dress like this. I don't feel like doing any work at all. I gently patted her head. What kind of rebellious logic is that? Shouldn't you feel more motivated to work? Go on, try it quickly. Once she changed into the maid outfit, she stood straight, held her skirt with both hands, gave a polite bow, and said, "Welcome home." Seeing her do that gesture filled my heart with joy. My perfect maid training program had just taken its first successful step. I learned it from a video last night, Emily Watson said, eyes sparkling like a little kid who had just scored full marks on a test. I chuckled darkly, then we're only missing one important phrase, aren't we? Her face immediately turned red. She glanced sideways at the shop assistant and whispered, "Let's say that when we're home." At checkout, I asked the staff to wrap up an additional lace-style maid outfit and a few other official accessories. Emily Watson saw it but didn't say anything, just quietly pressed her lips together. After all, she was just a poor little maid who had to obey her master's arrangements. When we got home, I went to the bathroom. When I came out, I saw Emily Watson squatting on the floor, tilting her head as she intently watched the robot vacuum do its job. At that moment, she really looked like a curious little kitten. Cats always seem obsessed with robot vacuums. I lightly nudged her but with my foot. "What are you still doing sitting there? Go pick your room." But in my heart, I thought, so adorable. Emily Watson rubbed her bottom and looked up at me. "This is so amazing. Aren't you afraid that a robot might replace your job one day?" I laughed softly. "A little, maybe," Emily Watson whispered. "You don't have to worry. A robot vacuum can't wear a maid outfit." I burst out laughing and pulled her up to her feet. She looked a little pouty. "Sounds like my only value is in the maid costume." "Exactly," I replied in a tone like a company boss. "That's your irreplaceable strength in this role. You have to make full use of it." But Emily Watson wasn't convinced. She tilted her head sweetly and said, "Even if you say so, I still won't wear the lace-style maid outfit." I thought for a moment and decided to change the subject. "You've got classes this afternoon, right? Go choose your room and get ready. Still 2 periods left, plenty of time." "I'll go then." "I have class later," I said, turning to leave. Emily Watson unconsciously grabbed the hem of my shirt, her big eyes staring up at me. "What's wrong? Why are you clinging to me like this?" I asked, smiling dreamily. "Not true? Then I'll head back early. Wait for me when you go out." She stared at me for a moment, then suddenly seemed to remember something. She lifted her skirt slightly, ran up to me, and said, "Master, please travel safely." Unfortunately, I had already entered the elevator and didn't hear her. Otherwise, I probably would have been so happy I skipped class entirely. Blushing furiously, Emily Watson ended up choosing a room next to mine. After unpacking, she jumped onto the bed, buried her face in the blanket, rolled around a few times. Then sat up and opened her diary. Maid Diary, Day 1. I was very curious about what they sold at that store. But remembering the strange expression on Master's face, I decided not to check it out. Besides, Ryan Blake really is very handsome. Also, today, he kicked my butt. I'll remember that debt. Next time, I'll definitely get back at him. I'll try hard to become a diligent and capable maid. Still, with some time before class, Emily Watson decided to wash her maid uniform, including the lace-style one. She tried it on and thought it looked pretty good, but with her figure, it felt like even the entire northern hemisphere would be exposed. She also found 2 pairs of cat ears and several pairs of stockings in the bag. Could it be, cat ears are also part of the maid uniform? They were kinda cute, though. But the number of stocking styles, it was a bit overwhelming. She bit her lip and carefully washed everything. After she finished, Emily Watson spotted a pair of my underwear on the washing machine.
She froze, stared at it curiously for a moment, and ended up washing that too. Suddenly she exclaimed, "Wait, this sock I wore yesterday, why is it in his bag?" Thinking about that, her face flushed bright red. After all the laundry was washed and dried, Emily Watson picked up her pen and continued writing in her diary. "I heard he really likes socks and underwear, and he's kinda big down there."
Meanwhile, I was in class, trying to focus on the lecture, when I suddenly sneezed. Damn it, which beauty is thinking about me again? Right then, I nudged the person next to me with my elbow. "Were you secretly staring at me again?" "Staring at what, you idiot?" she snapped. This girl, wearing high heels, stomped hard on my foot under the desk. I groaned in pain, and she glanced over with a teasing look. "Looks like you're in pain but enjoying it. Don't tell me you actually like being stepped on by heels." I pretended to pick up my textbook and said calmly, "All right, how about we go for barbecue tonight? You promised, remember?" She leaned back in her seat and stretched, a move that made her even more alluring. "Who's the lucky girl you're meeting tonight?" she asked suddenly. I stayed silent. Technically, I was going home, to my cute little maid girl. Of course, I didn't dare say that last part out loud. "Oh, I get it. It's a date tonight, huh?" She looked me up and down. "What's there to look at?" I looked up at her and said, "Do you remember we used to bathe together when we were little?" Yeah, that was a long time ago," she replied. I whispered, "You think I haven't grown since then?" She blinked, then smiled. 2 seconds later, we heard someone screaming like they were being murdered from the back of the classroom. The next afternoon, after school, I returned home. As soon as I opened the door, I was greeted by my beautiful little maid, Emily Watson, standing at the entrance. She had changed into the freshly laundered maid outfit. "Welcome home, master." "What happened to your leg?" she asked. "Did a dog bite you?" I hopped into the house, laughing. "You didn't hear it earlier?" "Yeah, got bit by a dog." Emily Watson helped me sit down. "Did you get your rabies shot?" I chuckled, "No need. It's a dog I've raised since it was young. Harmless." She looked at me suspiciously, clearly thinking something was off. "Oh right, do you want dinner first or a bath first? That's something I learned from the maid training videos, right?" I laughed, "That's right." Emily Watson smiled brightly, her eyes curved like crescent moons. Such a diligent little maid. But there was supposed to be a third option, one where I eat her instead. Of course, she just nodded and turned toward the kit Ryan. "You want dinner first, right? I'll bring it out right away." "Ignore me, huh?" I grumbled, pretending to be offended as I limped toward the dining table. Dinner was 8 treasure porridge with side dishes. Emily Watson had cooked the porridge before class, and prepped the rest just now. Having taken care of her mother for many years, she was already skilled in housework. I took a warm sip of porridge. What a comforting feeling. Eating hot food like this right after coming home, really did feel like coming home. Emily Watson closed her eyes as she munched on some pickled cucumber and asked, "Is your leg okay? Do you need to see a doctor?" I waved her off. "No worries. It'll be fine by morning." Since I was little, I'd lost count of how many times my landlady had stepped on me. She knew exactly how much force to use, enough to hurt, but not enough to injure. Almost like solving a math problem. After dinner, the little maid quickly cleared the dishes. I sprawled on the couch and turned on the TV with the remote. But then I noticed something strange. Emily Watson, still in her maid outfit, kept walking back and forth around the living room. Just like a robot vacuum cleaner. "What are you doing? Don't block my game time." I grumbled. "I want to find something to do," she finally said, turning around with hopeful eyes. Such an eager, newly hired maid. "If you've got nothing to do, go find something," I said. still focused on fighting monsters in-game. She blinked at me like she didn't understand what I was saying. Was this maid totally untrained? I looked at her seriously and said, "This is one of the basic lessons every maid must learn." Emily Watson murmured in confusion, then hesitantly lifted her skirt a bit, revealing her slim legs and black stockings. I stared at her, completely mesmerized. Until my game character got killed by a monster. I finally snapped back to reality. Emily Watson tried lifting her skirt higher, but eventually looked embarrassed, let it fall, and said, "This is too weird. I can't do that." I laughed, "Don't worry. You'll have more tasks soon. I'm training you to become the perfect maid, remember?" She tilted her head and asked, "Then what skills does a perfect maid need?" "Well, first," I said, counting on my fingers, "she has to be able to lift her skirt and show her chubby little belly." "That part's optional," I added quickly. Emily Watson's face turned red, but I continued, "This is only the beginner's course. Take your time. As for the second skill, you have to be able to fight. Like knocking out bad guys with one hit." I paused, then thought to myself, if I could get a maid who comes with a holy light gun or something, I'd feel a lot safer. Emily Watson looked down at her soft hands, hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I'll do my best." Seeing her like that, I couldn't help but laugh. This maid is just too adorable. That whole evening, I happily played games while Emily Watson sat quietly beside me, reading a book. From time to time, she'd pour me some water. By the time I was done with everything and turned off the TV, I noticed her resting her chin on her hands, staring at me without blinking. "Are you done now? Then, good night, master." The next day, after school, I planned to go straight home. But a certain someone grabbed my arm. "You owe me barbecue. You're paying today." On the way there, I got a bit sentimental. "Hey, do you think, decades from now, when we're all old, we'll still be like this? Arguing and bickering every day?" She chuckled. "By that time, I probably won't even be able to wear high heels anymore." "Why not?" I teased. "Can't you see? I'm still 18. She raised her hand and made a V sign, full of youth and energy. I quickly pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. "When we're old, we'll look back at these photos and remember these days." She smiled into the camera, her face blooming like a flower. This beautiful girl should really charge a licensing fee for her image, you know. I laughed. "Don't get cocky. You should at least buy me a milk tea." She pointed toward the nearby milk tea shop. One of those trendy new places, famous for great flavor, and long lines. But today the line wasn't too bad, so I agreed. "All right. You go pick what you want at the barbecue place. I'll go get the tea." She pulled me back. "Just kidding. The barbecue place has free tea. Even though you've got a bit of cash now, you should still be frugal." I grinned. "Oh wow, you're totally giving off wifey vibes now. Come on, it's just milk tea." I dragged her toward the shop anyway. Meanwhile, back home, Emily Watson was sitting obediently on the sofa, reading the message I just sent her. "I won't be home for dinner tonight." At that moment, the pressure cooker in the kitchen hissed. She had rushed home after school to cook chicken soup, carefully following a maid training video. She'd even added herbs like goji berries, cinnamon bark, and astragalus to help with kidney health. Though she didn't fully understand what she was doing, she followed the instructions earnestly. Staring at the bubbling soup, her cheeks puffed out like a pufferfish. Then she closed her eyes and let out a soft little huff. "Fine, don't come back. I'll drink it all myself." Maid diary, today. Ryan didn't come home for dinner. I will remember this betrayal. I'll get revenge one day, though I haven't figured out how yet. But I will remember it. Just as I arrived at the milk tea shop, I texted her to let her know I'd already bought it. By then, I had just finished waiting in line. The staff quickly prepared the drinks, 2 milk teas, light sugar, no ice. Standing next to her, I was silent. As we waited, I started chatting with the staff about the shop's costs and how it operated. Later, sitting in the barbecue place, she asked, "You thinking of opening a milk tea shop?" "Maybe," I replied. "Franchise places like that actually have a lot worth studying." She smirked. "And by worth studying, you mean the black uniforms the staff wear, right?" I smirked. As soon as she saw the milk tea shop staff wearing those short black uniforms, she picked up a slice of grilled beef, held it out, and popped it straight into my mouth. "Here, just eat your barbecue." After I swallowed, she added, "Let's call it a bribe, but I'm not working at your milk tea shop, okay? Unless you pay me." That night, I got home quietly, carefully turning the key and sneaking toward my room. Honestly, I felt a little guilty. I'd gone out eating barbecue with other girls, without telling my maid. But when I opened the door, I was surprised to see Emily Watson standing right there, holding my maid uniform in her hands. "Welcome home, master." Even caught red-handed, I didn't panic. A tiny maid like her couldn't possibly overwhelm me. So I smiled charmingly and asked, "I'm curious, how do you always know exactly when I'll be home?" She touched her finger to her cheek. "That's a basic skill for an excellent maid, sir." In reality, Emily Watson had been studying maid manuals quite seriously. One chapter mentioned that to appear precisely when the master returns, a maid should learn to recognize their scent and footsteps. But since she hadn't mastered that yet, she simply finished her chores early, sat by the door, and waited for me while reading. As I plopped down on the sofa, she chimed in, "You're getting really smooth at calling me master. That's another essential skill of an excellent maid, huh?" But somehow, it felt like she was saying something else between the lines. So I tested the waters. Doesn't this excellent maid want to know where her master went tonight? Emily Watson crossed her arms. "As an excellent maid, it's not my place to interrupt when master is enjoying himself socially." Ah. I got the hint. She was clearly sulking a bit. I stood up and held out my hand. "Well, even if today wasn't perfect, maybe I can still help improve your mood?" Obediently, she leaned her face close, letting me gently pat her head. She hadn't eaten dinner. She wasn't really mad, just a little down. "This maid is getting really attached, huh?" Still pouting slightly, Emily Watson puffed her cheeks. I gave her a couple gentle pokes on the cheek and then let go. "Oh right, there's something you left in the hallway closet. Go grab it." She dashed to the door and returned with a paper bag. "Let's see what master brought home for his excellent maid, shall we?" I rested my chin in my palm, watching her with a face that said, "Let's see if the cat likes her new flavor of treat." Emily Watson's eyes sparkled. What did master bring for his faithful, hard-working maid? She opened the bag excitedly. First, a cup of milk tea. Then, a box of grilled meat. And finally, a small strawberry cake. With each item, her smile got brighter. Finally, she turned around like she was about to leap into my arms. But stopped herself just in time. I held out my arms. "If you want to jump into your master's arms, I won't stop you." "No, it's not that," she said. "I'm just really happy." I burst out laughing. "Eat up, the barbecue's still warm." As soon as I finished speaking, Emily Watson darted into the kitchen and came back out with a steaming bowl of chicken soup. "Here you go, chicken soup." I quickly stood up to help her. "It smells amazing," I said. She smiled, took a spoonful of soup, blew on it gently to cool it down, and held it up to my lips. "Come on, taste it. I spent forever making it." The way she acted so naturally caught me a little off guard. After taking a sip, I reached for the spoon. It's really good. You eat some too, there's still barbecue left. Emily Watson sat next to me, hands cupped around her cheeks as she watched me drink. I added a bunch of herbs. Supposed to be good for your kidneys. I nearly spat the soup out. What the? Who told this maid I needed kidney support? Apparently, she had no idea what that implied. Emily Watson was so innocent, she didn't even notice my inner panic. She sipped her milk tea, took a bite of barbecue, her cute eyes narrowing slightly as she kicked her feet happily. Watching her like that, I couldn't help but laugh. Honestly, what girl doesn't love sweet drinks? After finishing the soup, I grabbed my clothes and headed into the bathroom. When I came out from my shower, Emily Watson was standing in the living room, a book in her arms, quietly staring at me. "Master," she asked softly, "are we playing again tonight?" If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel and keeps more videos coming your way. Thank you for listening.